split up and I went to school. I got a history degree and, just didn't play music for a while. I think I just got a little bit burned out with it. And eventually, as music does, it came back to me and it was like knocking on my door saying, hey, we got some songs to write.
That's Emma Jo. I'm Jamie Green. And this is Trading Fours. Happy New Year, everybody. We survived 2020. Can you believe it? Didn't think it was going to happen. And here's to a much, much better 2021, especially for musicians who need this to end more than about just anybody. Hey, before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. I am going to go back to just 2 episodes a month. They are going to air or be released on the 7th and the 21st. And that's just because I've gotten really busy with the day job and hopefully soon with the band. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping soon. So I'm just going to go back to twice a month, but looking forward to it. I think it'll be great, and people will know when to expect an episode when it's going to drop. Hey, today's guest is Emma Jo, and as you can hear, she's a great songwriter and performer. We had a very candid discussion where we discussed things like grief and how that horrible emotion can spark the creative process. And on a lighter note, we apparently are both history nerds, which I totally geeked out on. Totally a history nerd. And finally, Emma Jo and we discussed her plans for 2021, what she's itching to do once the world opens back up. And I think we all are itching for the world to open back up, right? So it's a great chat. Fabulous musician, great person. So let's get started. Here's my conversation with Emma Jo. So I'm asking everybody this until COVID's over. How you holding up?
I'm hanging in there. I haven't been doing as much as I thought I would be doing. One of my resolutions for 2020 was, play more music, be out more, do more gigs. And obviously it didn't quite work out that way. But, I'm hanging in there like all of us and just trying to stay safe and do my thing. I've written a lot of songs, so that helps.
Yeah, well, I bet. So it's interesting seeing how people are pivoting, like we talked about offline. And I've heard a lot of people say that they're kind of working on their writing. So yeah. How much have you been writing? Has your writing changed because of this? Do you get to spend more time on it? Talk to me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I definitely have spent more time on writing this year. I've written almost a full album's worth of material this year. I haven't written any songs about the pandemic or the lack of playing because I just feel like I don't really want to, I talk about it all day, I feel like, and I hear about it all day. So I don't want to write songs about it. But, I've just been writing normal songs, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of material out of this time period. So I feel good. I went into the studio this last month, and we're still working on the songs because, nowadays you have to bring the musicians in like one at a time.
Right.
And then, you'll invite somebody in and they'll say, oh, well, I can't come this week because I got a quarantine or whatever. So it's kind of a slower process than what I'm used to. But, it's still fun. And we're going to be releasing a couple of new singles this spring. So, getting things done slowly.
Right. Well, that's great. Where are you recording at?
I'm recording with Matt Richards at Avenue Record Company.
Okay.
He's cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like, what do you love about music? And I think it's true for most music. It's the collaboration is one of the most fun and rewarding parts, right? Especially that kind of that tightrope walk when you're doing it live. And I think every musician's really missing that. So yeah, you're doing your best and you're in the studio, like you said, one at a time, but it's not quite the same. And I'm sure like everybody, you're ready for it to be the same, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's back up a little bit. First of all, I loved your album. The
Thank you.
2018 album was great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I always try to listen to people ahead of time. And my mom's a native Texan, and she's a huge country western. She's like a Willie and Waylon
Right.
kind of guy or gal. And she's like, you listen, she pulls no punches. She doesn't care. She's 88. So she's like, you listen to all that? Like, and I said, man, if it's good music, I'm going to listen to it. Right. So I really appreciated great harmonies, great songwriting. Loved it. So tell me a little, I know it's 2 years old now and you get some new stuff up, but so tell people a little bit about this album.
Yeah, so Brave was my return to music. So I had a rock band called 49 Stones back. We were together for 6 years, I think, when I was a teenager and into my early 20s. And, the band split up and I went to school. I got a history degree and, just didn't play music for a while. I think I just got a little bit burned out with it. And eventually, as music does, it came back to me and it was like knocking on my door saying, hey, we got some songs to write. So I wrote some songs, re-recorded some old stuff. And in the middle of this project, I was writing the songs and getting ready to go into the studio. My dad passed away. And so I already had a collection of songs that I was ready to put out. But then after my dad died, I wrote another song, which was Your Story Isn't Over Yet, the last song on the record. And, I felt like after that, the whole album, I guess, became more about loss. And, it was about loss of, I don't know, my previous musical career and, stuff like that. But eventually it became about just loss in general and grieving. And, I couldn't believe the reception that I got from people. Like I still to this day get messages from people saying, hey, I used your song at my, so-and-so's funeral. And I'm like, so I wrote a funeral song. I don't,
Yeah.
It became something that people really identified with, I guess. And so, the whole album got released in 2018 and it became sort of an iconic moment in my life. Just that whole record, like when I listen to it, it really takes me back to that, the loss, but also I'm gonna keep going. My producer asked me, do you want to go back into the studio? Like, are you ready for this? And I said, I have to do this because it's my way. Like, this has to be my way of coping.
Right. Was your dad musical?
He didn't play, but he was like my biggest fan. So it was hard to be in the studio without him. But at the same time, I knew that he wouldn't have wanted me to postpone or like cancel going into the studio. So I was like, nope, we've got to do this.
Yeah. Well, that's, my dad, he's been gone for 20 years. And I still, since he was a musician and he sang and he was a great trumpet musician and stuff, I still think about him.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's a way to not only just honor his memory, but also just a way to connect with them. It's just every time I'm on stage, I think about him at some point. So I hear you, and it's tough, man. It's just a horrible thing. I don't know how much you are on pop media or pay attention to stuff, but Wolfgang Van Halen, who's Eddie Van Halen's son, he's going through the same thing right now, right? And writing a song and how hard it is and difficult and stuff. So, I think that you were able to connect with people so much. That's a testament to how strong your songwriting is and how much you opened yourself up to that. Cause that's not easy to do. Right. I mean, it's tough emotions.
Yeah, for sure. After I finished the song, I remember thinking to myself, like, this is a private song. I'm just going to keep it in my notebook. And, but then, I really liked playing it. So I took a video of it and I put it on a private Facebook group. And people started saying, like, can you make this public? Can you make this public? Because I want to share it. Like, I identify with this too. And I was like, oh, man. So, but the more I heard people react to it, the more I thought, even though this was a very private thing for me, I think it's okay to share that and to open up to people because you never know what kind of support you're going to get.
Yeah. And unfortunately, grief is universal.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, everybody at some point in their life is going to lose somebody that they care deeply about, and it's a horrible, and there's no shortcuts. I hate to tell, like,
Right.
young people who haven't been through this yet, but there really isn't. It just takes the time that it takes,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, let's go into a little bit of happier stuff. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Let's talk about some of your influences. Now, obviously, I saw your website. I think, was it on your website, or someone's compared you a little bit to Emmylou Harris, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear a little Natalie Maines in your voice. Do you ever hear anybody say that to you?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I definitely grew up in the era where she was a big influence for me. Yeah, in fact, I was just listening to the Chicks' new album just yesterday, just rocking out. So yeah, totally.
How is that? I haven't heard it yet.
It's good. It's good. It's different than their previous material for sure, because it's a little bit more poppy. They did a much more modern treatment of their songs, but it's cool. I like it.
That's great. So did you start? I think you started at 6, some ridiculously young age. When did you start?
Yeah, yeah. I've been singing forever. First, in fact, when I look back at our family videos from when I was a kid, it cracks me up because literally I was always telling my dad, I was like, hey, turn the camera on. Like, I got a song and a dance for you. And he's like,
performer,
not this song again. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing that forever. And then I went to a Bruce Springsteen concert when I was probably 12 or 13. And I was like, this is it. I got to write songs. I gotta do this.
So when would that have been? Like what year?
Let's see. It was 2002 because it was the Rising tour.
Right.
And yeah, I was so excited. I just thought it was the coolest thing to see what he did. And I had seen other concerts, but I just loved the whole, like the way he connected with the audience and the fact that he wrote his own songs. I thought that was so cool. So
it's like 3 hours long, right? Like it's
yeah. But not long enough for me at the time. I was so amped, and my dad bought me a guitar afterwards, and I started writing songs.
Well, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
It's so interesting with him. I grew up in Nebraska, and so we got, I'm old. Sorry, but I am. I got so excited when the Nebraska album came out because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's paying attention and talking about Nebraska. And then you actually listen to the album and it's all about Charlie Starkweather, who was, a spree killer in Nebraska that killed all these people. And I was like, oh, this is not nearly as cool as I thought it was going to be.
It's not praising Nebraska in any sense.
No, it's not. It's not. But I appreciate, we'll take it whenever we can get it. It's just kind of funny. So, but
all yes. Nebraska, yeah.
Anyway, so guitar, right? So you've been playing guitar, and what kind of styles do you like? Who do you like to listen to from a guitar standpoint? Anybody you listen to, and you're like, yeah, it's probably a long list, right?
Well, yeah, I like rock guitar, and I really like country guitar too. Like sometimes I sit down, and even my mom really likes to listen to even modern country, and it's not as much my thing, but sometimes I'll sit and I'll listen and I'll be like, man, that Brad Paisley guy, he can really rock.
Yeah, he can.
And but yeah, do not consider myself much of a guitar player at all. I'm a rhythm player, and I consider myself a songwriter first, and then a singer, and then, oh my goodness, I'm so bad at guitar. But I learned because I figured I have to accompany myself, and I can't trust anybody else to play it the way, to play it in the key I want, because I didn't know anything at the time. So I learned some chords, and that was all she wrote.
Do you still practice, or are you just like, I'm content with where I am now?
Yeah, I practice, and I try to learn. I would love to be able to play a little bit more bluesy stuff. Like I'll listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I'm like, man.
He's why I picked the guitar up. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, kind of like your Bruce Springsteen moment. I would play piano first, and that was fine.
Okay.
And I liked Billy Joel a lot, and Elton John, and I was in high school, and we went to go see him. He was playing. It was kind of what a Soul to Soul tour. This was a long time ago.
Right.
And he just blew me away. It just blew me away. I mean, just like the ability to emote that much passion out of an instrument.
Absolutely.
So
I love that guy.
Oh yeah, I'm still sad. It's been 30 years. It still saddens me. But
right.
see, probably I can never do this correctly. But what's this? See that? There's my little Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar right there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
um, so where were you playing? Like, what was before pre-COVID? You were playing and stuff, and not your rock band, but this. Did you tour much or play much after your release in 2018?
No, man, because I went to graduate school like an idiot.
What'd you get your master's in?
History, like an idiot.
All right. Well, I'm a history nerd. So, what kind of history do you like? What do you focus on?
So I'm writing my thesis on the history of paleontology in the 19th century. So
Very
we're getting
cool.
real nerdy here, but
Oh, I like the nerdy.
but I'm talking about how in America, uh, average everyday people would go out and collect fossils, and I think that's pretty cool because I think that's it shows that in America you don't have to necessarily be a well-educated scientist in order to enjoy things like that. And so anyway, that's what I'm writing my thesis on.
Yeah, there's a crazy book about two paleontologists in the 19th century, both Americans, who like hated each other's guts. Have you heard about
Open
this?
Marsh, yeah.
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 See? You know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're on my level.
Yeah. In fact, my favorite class in undergrad was Elephants of the Great Plains, which was
Nice.
all about mammoths and mastodons. And the guy,
That's specific.
yeah, the guy was real. Well, it was only 1 credit hour. It was a mini course.
Okay.
He was like the rock star of who knew of mastodons, and then years later, I'm reading a Bill Bryson book about the history of the world, and
Right.
the guy's quoted in there, and I was like, hey, I know that dude. He was my professor. So you can
That's awesome.
you can geek out with me. It's okay.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Most people are like, that is dumb and boring.
Not at all. Well, you got to have other interests, right? You can't just. So
Yeah.
do you want to teach at some point? What's the plan with the degree? Or you just honestly just wanted to learn more?
Well, that for sure, but I've always done museum work, and I do museum fundraising, and so that's kind of my forte. It's what I do.
Well, that's great.
I worked at the National World War I Museum and Memorial for a while.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Both of my grandfathers were in the First World War.
Oh yeah, that's
Mhm.
awesome.
I'm sorry. We're off on a tangent. We should be talking about your musical career. I find that stuff interesting, so that's cool. So
yeah.
So these new songs, what's the plan? When are they coming out? How can people listen to them? What are you going to do going forward?
Yeah, so early April, you'll start seeing these songs come out. The first one's called Queen of the Silver Lining. The second one is called Same Moon. And I'm really excited about it. Like I think some of the cooler songs I've ever written as far as, lyrically. And Queen of the Silver Lining is about somebody who just has terrible luck and continues to push on and try to be as badass as possible. And Same Moon is about this weird concept that I've had in my head for a long time that, being a historian, I have always thought it was cool that, like, throughout my entire childhood, I would become randomly kind of obsessed with historical figures, one or another. And I always thought it was cool that, like, one thing I definitely had in common with that person was that we had both looked at the moon at some point. I felt like that's something that all humans kind of have in common, that we've all looked at the moon and it's facing the same direction as it always has been. And so I thought it would be cool to write a song about that. So Same Moon is about, the first verse is about Galileo and the second verse is about Neil Armstrong and like this sort of moon connection that we all have. And so it's real nerdy, but I think it's a cool tune. So I'm excited about it.
That's great. Yeah, everybody who's ever been on the earth,
Yeah.
ancient Babylonians.
Yes.
Same thing. So
Absolutely.
I'm guessing lyrics have to be very concise and you have to leave some of it up for interpretation, right? You can't make it 1,000 words, right? You've got to get to the point. Whereas when you're a history person, it's the direct opposite while you're writing your thesis, where you've got to cram every bit of facts that you have in your head on that paper. So how do you balance that?
Well, it's interesting. I think me as a songwriter, that influenced me as a historian and vice versa. So my advisors would always say, we need this to be 20 pages or whatever. And I would be like, okay, but I got it done in 15. So, because I'm a really concise writer. So it took me a while to be able to flesh out my ideas more fully, because I would say, well, I can say it in this amount of space, so I'm going to try. And then, and vice versa. I feel like even when I'm writing a song, I'm so very particular about how well researched it has to be. Like, I can't write a song and say that, something about the moon that isn't really true. So like, I have to, I'm just very particular about that kind of stuff. So I think the two sides, both my academic writing side and my artistic writing side, they definitely have influenced each other over time. But, it's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So with lyrics, who do you like? People who write great lyrics. Who do you like? Oh, what a great lyric. I wish I'd thought of that. Do you have certain people like you've heard a lyric and you just loved it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I already told you I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Lyrically is how I like him the most. Great performer and everything, but lyrics are what really hook me with an artist. And I'm trying to think. There's a lot of great old country artists like Hank Williams.
Yeah.
Just there's something about the simplicity of, the lonesome whippoorwill. And like, I don't know, I just think there's such beauty in that kind of simplicity. And so I like that kind of writing too. I can listen to Dylan and be happy with that, but I can also listen to something real simple and be happy with that. So
Yeah.
I have a variety of influences, but
yeah. It's sacrilege for me to say this, but I actually like Dylan songs when other people perform them more.
I mean, you're probably not alone in that.
Well, there's such great tunes, and I just, and I know people are like, well, it's part of the experience and stuff, but I just want to hear the beauty part of it, right?
I feel you. Yeah.
So, like I said, I have some Dylan friends that are going to probably throw eggs at my house now that I said that, but
right.
I think a lot of people don't know their Dylan tunes, right?
Yeah.
He and Prince. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, Prince, everybody and their brother covered all his stuff too. And people didn't know that they were Prince songs either, which is kind of amazing. So, well, that's cool. So going forward, it's January, vaccines are starting, the world opens up. What do you want the rest? Yeah. Amen. What do you want the rest of your 2021 to be like?
Oh man, I hope that, first things first, I'm rolling up my sleeve. I'm taking that vaccine immediately as soon as it's offered to me. I want the Dolly Parton one, of course. So, I want to do that, and I want to get back out there. I hope that when I'm releasing my new singles in April, that I'm going to be able to do at least a little bit of touring, maybe even regionally. I'm hoping. Even if they're small or outdoor shows, I'm hoping that my whole summer is filled up with festivals and outdoor wineries and whatever I can get.
Right. Where do you like to play here? You have certain places in town that you like?
Well, last year I played a whole lot at a place called Peculiar Winery down south. And I love that place. Love that kind of stuff.
Right. Just you or a band?
Yeah, just me. Yep. But I mean, I'd love to get the band together and do something bigger. In fact, there's a festival that was going to happen in September, but it got canceled because of weather, and it's going to be postponed. It's called The Sound of Kansas City, and we think it's going to happen in May. So I'm really excited for that, and that'll be a full band show. So
who's all in your band, Emma?
Well, I don't have a band per se because I.
What's the instrumentation that'll be in your band? How about that?
Yeah, so I have drums, Colby Earlywine. He's usually playing drums for me. And, lead guitar, I have usually organ and keyboards and bass, of course. And, we're putting banjo and stuff on these new songs. So I'm kind of hoping maybe we can work something out there too. But I as you know, since you heard my last record, we had horns on a couple of those songs.
Yeah.
Man, I love that, but it starts to get expensive when you're hiring a horn section for every show.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? That's the calculus you have to do. Like, how many people can I have and we still make some money, right?
Right. So I'm like, if you want the full Emmylou experience, you're gonna have to like give me a lot of money.
So where did the horns come from? What made you want to put horns on?
So one of the songs that is on the Brave record was also, it was kind of a redo of one that was on my very first album. I was 15 years old when I released Waiting to Be Heard.
That's crazy.
And yeah. And there was a song called Your Lies. And there was a review of the album where the reviewer said, I could hear this song with like a full horn section, you know, Jersey, like Shore style. And so I had that in my mind for so many years that when we went to record the same song over again with a full band, I thought, I got to put horns on this song. So while the horn players were there, we had them also play on Your Story Isn't Over Yet. And I thought that was cool too. I thought my dad would have liked that. So
yeah, no, I love horns. I love the Memphis horns and that whole thing and all the stuff, the stack stuff. And
oh yeah, love that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's funny. Well, I hope you get to do it sooner than later too. And before we go, if people are just now becoming acquainted with you, what's the best way for them to follow you and learn more about you? And then when you are able to announce shows that they can see that you're going to be out there and come see you live. Yeah.
Check out my website, emmylou.com. And I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/emmylou.rocks. And I'm on Instagram as Vox Princess, Vox being Latin for voice, VOX. And yeah, so hang out with me on there. And, you know, the website really is the most complexly updated place. But yeah, hang out with me on there and I'll keep you posted on what I'm doing.
That's great. Can I back up real quick? I would love to know, 15 years old, I was a complete, total idiot at 15. Like I was not.
I wasn't.
But, you know, I wasn't like, you could have never got me, you know. I'm trying to even think, God, this was the early 80s. I was probably watching something stupid on television and then playing, you know, some video games with my buddies. Like it's interesting. I'm honestly interested. How did all that happen? What made you want to do it? How did your parents react? How'd you pay for it? Like, how did all that work? I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, I told my parents from a very early age that I was serious. Like I wanted to write and perform and record music. And so, you know, like I said, I started writing songs at probably 12 or so. And by the time I was 15, I had a full album's worth of material. And, you know, I told them, I said, I'd like to go into the studio. And, you know, what studio? I don't know. I don't even know anyone. But yeah, my mom enrolled me in artist development lessons with Lisa Monet in Independence, Music with Monet. And she introduced me to Steve McBride at Soundgate Productions. And she said, you know, I think you could get this stuff together and we could record a little album for you. And so she really helped me with a lot of the technical details that neither I nor my parents really knew how to do any of this. And, you know, she told me how to get the discs pressed and everything. And so we did that. And my parents were extremely supportive, both of them. And so that was really nice for me. But yeah, recorded the whole album, 10 songs, and did a CD release party down at the Quality Hill Playhouse. And it was fun. I loved it so much. And definitely from that moment felt like, okay, I want to start a band. I want to keep doing this. And so I think I'll probably do it for the rest of my life too. I'll probably be 80 and people will say, you know, I can't believe you're 80 still doing this. I'll be like, yeah.
Well, you don't do it for the money.
No, certainly not.
No, it's interesting because the recording studio, it's a little daunting. I mean, it's a very sterile. I mean, I think
Yeah.
people have this vision that the recording studio stuff, it's kind of this weird sterile place where, right? It's not like it's real. It's usually kind of dark, and I don't know. It's just an interesting place at 15 to walk in there and be like, yeah, I want to record. I mean,
Yeah.
when I went to a recording studio, it kind of, freaked me out.
It is kind of scary and intimidating because you feel like, oh man, this has to sound perfect. This is going to be on a CD for the rest of my life and people are going to hear it forever. And to be fair, I listen to my old record now and I'm like, oh my God, I sound so young and weird.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like your yearbook pictures, right?
Yes.
It's an accurate representation of where you were at that point in your life, but it's not who you are now. You've evolved into somebody else, right?
Yes, and it's weird to look back on.
Yeah, I don't think any artist likes to go back too far. I mean, the Beatles alone, how much the Beatles evolved from their first album to their last album, that's remarkable.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm proud of myself that I did that. It was probably, up to that point in my life, I thought, oh my gosh, this is such a great accomplishment. And it was, but definitely it's a little weird for me looking back on that because, I was 15.
Kudos for you, man. I'd try to get my 16-year-old just to take the trash out. And that's like a battle.
Well, that part was a battle.
It's been a total joy getting to talk to you a little bit. I can't wait till the world opens up. I'd love to come see you in person and introduce myself in person and say hello.
That would be awesome. I'd love to meet you in person. Thank you so much for having me. I will share this out to my email list and my social media and everything. So thank you so much.
No, it's been a total pleasure. Really, really dig what you do and I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a great day, Jamie.
Bye-bye.
Midnight's calling and it's hard to sleep. All your things are mixed up and where they shouldn't be. Everybody's got good advice, they're just words and letters. You try to figure the right way, but the numbers run together.
Emma Jo, everybody. Great chat. Really enjoyed talking to her, and it's the first time I've had a historian on the podcast. Who knew? It's always so cool to see what people do besides just music. So thanks so much to Emma Jo. Be sure to check out all the links in the show notes to her. Be sure to follow her, and I will be at one of her shows. I promise that early on when I can. So that's going to do it for today's Trading Fours. But next time, hey, I got my guru. I got my mentor. I got my friend, Danny Embry, who I think is one of the best jazz guitarists, not only in Kansas City. I think he's one of the best guitarists in all of the US of A. He's a great teacher, great musician, just a cool dude, man. I mean, you could, if you're that good of a player and you're that nice, I mean, what a great combination. So I was a student of his a long time ago, and he did not make me into a jazz musician, but that was my fault, not his. But he made me a heck of a lot better player, and I thank him for that. So I've been pestering him, and he's got time finally. He's so busy, but we're going to do that. So on the 21st, look forward to that one with Danny Embry. But until then, go out and support live music virtually, and we will talk to each other real soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah.